Sabhi ko namaste and a warm good afternoon to each one of you present for this today's international seminar. Um, Distinguished guests, respected speakers, colleagues, scholars, and dear students, it gives us immense pleasure to welcome each one of you for the international seminar on youth voices in the digital age, media, literature, and law at the crossroads of transformation, and also on the occasion of Women's Day. So this seminar is organized in collaboration with Department of Youth Affairs under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and Center for Lifelong Learning, School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend my warmest welcome to all the esteemed speakers, panelists, researchers, practitioners, and participants who have joined from Mumbai and from different parts of the world. So this seminar has been conceptualized with a very simple yet powerful belief that youth voices matter. And today, more than ever, they are shaping social, cultural, and political conversations in unprecedented ways. In the digital age, youth or young people are not merely consumers of information, but they are creators, they are storytellers, they are activists, they are innovators. So, through social media, literature, digital journalism, legal advocacy, youth are defining how societies communicate, resist, and transform. So these themes reflect the complex intersections between media, literature, technology, and law, and how they influence the lives and voices of young people today. So in the next 3 days, from 8th till 10th of March 2026, we hope and we believe that we will foster meaningful conversations, critical reflections, and collaborations of ideas. At the Center for Lifelong Learning, we strongly believe that learning is not confined to classrooms. It evolves through dialogues, debates, and shared knowledge. This seminar is therefore not just an academic gathering, but a collective intellectual and social engagement with the changing realities of youth in the digital era. I would like to express my gratitude to the Department of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, for their collaboration and support in making the seminar possible. I also extend my appreciation to all the speakers and panel members and also the NSS students and the My Bharat portal volunteers and also TIS volunteers. As we begin this journey together, I hope the discussions here will inspire new research, meaningful collaborations, and stronger platforms for youth voices across the globe. Once again, I warmly welcome each one of you, and let us have a very stimulating and enriching seminar. So with these few words, I would like to invite Dr. Virendra Mishra, Dr. Shiva, and Professor Bipin Jojo on the dais, please. Thank you so much. So let me introduce you to the esteemed guest sitting here on the dais. Dr. Virendra Mishra is the chief guest for today's international seminar. He is a distinguished civil servant, social policy expert, and senior administrator with extensive experience in youth development, social defense, human trafficking, adoption policy, and public systems strengthening in India. He is currently serving with the Government of India as Director MHE. He has 31 years of service in police, where he contributed to police, public administration, and law enforcement with a strong social policy orientation. He has previously held the position of Director, National Institute of Social Defense, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India. In this role, He led national initiatives on key social defense concerns, including drug defense, prevention, and rehabilitation. And then he served as Director National Service Scheme, which we popularly is known as NSS, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, where he worked with one of the largest youth volunteer networks in the country. His leadership contributed to strengthening youth engagement in community development, social responsibilities, and nation building through higher education institutions. During the same period, he also held the position of Executive Director, Youth Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan, NYKS, one of the world's largest grassroots youth organizations. And earlier, he has also worked with CARA, C-A-R-A, that is Central Adoption Resource Authority, right? Yeah. So in this capacity, he played a critical role in strengthening India's adoption ecosystem, streamlining procedures, and promoting transparency. He is also an international, the list is long, an internationally recognized expert on human trafficking and social policy. So here we have Dr. Virendra Mishra to address the inaugural session, and I will request Professor Bipin Jojo to felicitate him. Thank you, Professor Jojo. Next is Dr. Shiva, and he is a research assistant professor at the School of Social Policy and Practice and co-director of Safe Lab at the University of Pennsylvania. Did I pronounce it right? He is a senior fellow at the Leonard David Institute of Health Economics at the University of Pennsylvania, and yeah, and he is a Pradeep Mehendiratta Fellow at the American Institute of Indian Studies. Dr. Shiva is a global tech social work researcher and community practitioner. He co-designs and develops community-centered AI-supported technology products and tools for youth well-being and development. Very interesting. He co-creates tech social policies and ethical consideration. He deploys a hybrid version of qualitative indigenous research methodologies and contextual analysis of social media to understand youth expressions on social media in the native, regional, hyperlocal languages to prevent suicidal ideation and promote youth well-being. He is also founder director of the youth-led non-profit trust for youth and child leadership international based in Asia and America. He serves also on many panels. He is a TYCL representative to the UN. He was also an RSM Assembly Fellow and faculty associate at one of the Centers for Internet and Society in Harvard University. So here we have Dr. Shiva, and we welcome you as guest of honor for this occasion. And I request Professor Trupti to please felicitate Dr. Shiva. Thank you, Professor Trupti. Professor Bipin Jojo is the Dean of School of Social Work, Tata Institute. Um, and he has been instrumental in, while he was part of the international office, he was instrumental in building and collaborating, many universities, and he has done very pioneering work in the area of tribal studies. He was also a core researcher in the collaborative research project with University of Edinburgh and University of East London in UK, which was funded by British Council. Um, he is also, part of many university exchange programs, and he has several publication and projects to his credit. He has been a very strong supporter to us as Dean of School of Social Work. He is the one who would give, full freedom to you, um, to have your dreams, your aspirations come true in whatever projects, conferences, anything that you want to take on in the center. He is the backbone. He remains very silent, but he is the one who's supporting us all the time. So thank you so much, Dean sir. And I would like Professor Srilata. She has just entered to felicitate Professor Bipin Jojo. And I welcome my colleagues here, Professor Shivli, Professor Shivlata, Srilata, and Professor Trupti. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Srilata. So before we proceed to the inaugural address, let us begin the occasion formally, and let us take blessings and light the lamp. I would request all the dignitaries to please come forward for the Prajwalan. So Akshata's instructions are here. Please keep your mobile phones on silent mode. I request Professor Bipin Jojo to come and speak a few words.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone, those who are in the conference hall and those who are with us online. Formally, on behalf of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Badrinarayan Tiwari, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this international seminar on youth voices in the digital age, media, literature, and law at the crossroads at transformation. I also take the opportunity as a host the School of Social Work, who is hosting this international conference. Dr. Virendra Mishra, IPS, Dr. Siva, coming all the way from University of Pennsylvania, US, our international delegates coming from Nepal, Indonesia, India, colleagues and all our NSS volunteers, and other colleagues who are with us online. I think this is an honor for us that Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports has entrusted us this responsibility to host this international seminar on a very, very important subject, especially at this moment, globally, where we are, in one hand, the youth is very, very important. On the other hand, digital space, AI, has been impacting and playing very important role in our lives. And so at this juncture, how we see the interface between the youth and their role, their contributions, and their concerns in one hand, and this digital space in the time of digital world. I think it is very important for us to discuss, deliberate, share, exchange our thoughts and ideas in these 2.5 days here in our TISS campus. Youth has been one of our important areas of our engagement and our interest, either in terms of our research, in terms of our teaching. In all our engagement, youth becomes very, very important. And always we encourage that how youth, those who are entering to this campus as students, whether it is bachelor's, master's, PhD, or whatever different certificate diploma programs they come in, the first and foremost, the exercise takes place is to know about self. Before talking about social change or how we can play our role to change the society or to our families, I think we begin our process to reflect about ourselves, knowing about ourselves, before knowing about the society around which we live. And so I think it is very important for us to see that how we as youth or we, the youth with whom we are working, how we are able to help the youth to know about themselves. And then see that how their voices can be heard, how their voices can be played or contribute in social change or social transformation. As my colleague Dr. Saigita said, in today's world, youth is not only the consumer of data, but they are also very important contributor, generator, data, contributor for change in our society. And I see that in this international seminar, uh, very important aspect I like to emphasize is sharing our thoughts and ideas, exchanging our views and ideas. But most important, I think we have to connect each other. We have to network each other. Then only we can think of any kind of transformation or social transformation in our society, be it the small micro level or the macro meso level. I think that networking each other or connecting each other can play a very, very important role. And I see that this conference, having friends coming from different parts of the world, both online, offline, whoever is with us, how we can share and connect each other, and see that how we build this network for a collective initiative, collective effort for a better future. Though we are concerned about our society, about our neighborhood, about our environment along with where we are living, we all, as youth also, we are struggling with different concerns. Our own aspirations, our own problems and concerns. Okay, so we also have to see that how do we create or have a space where we can share, we can work toward our aspirations. I think this is the place, this is the time we can talk, we can share, and we can exchange our ideas and views. I especially welcome all our international delegates and friends or colleagues who have been not here but who are able to join us online to see that uh, be there, join together, and look forward for a new initiative for a better future. I wish you all the best. Looking forward to have a wonderful interaction with each one of you, among each one of you, and see that wonderful stay here in Mumbai. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was very powerful. I think he spoke about self, and that's very important. One is the idea of who am I and what is my identity, what is my ability and capability is very important for, especially for the youth to understand. So, how powerful you are and how can you also translate your energies into, meaningful works in the society. Thank you so much for that, sir. And also you spoke about the space, and this is the space where I can see only young people here. We are old, but we are young at heart, so we are with you. So this is the time when the experience and the energy, can come together, collaborate, and we can really make this world a different place to live in. Uh, with these few thoughts, I now invite Dr. Shiva, and we have been waiting to hear from him since long, since the time I have connected with him, because he is the master behind, the AI and other thing that he is doing in a safe lab. Let us listen to what Shiva has to say. So over to sir.
Thank you so much. Um, Vanakkam and Namaste and Happy Women's Day. And thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor. Honestly, it's been a great blessings for me being in the campus here today. And thank you, first of all, picking up this topic of youth voices in the digital age. Youth voices are pretty active all over, but media, literature, law, and the grassroots of transformation, it's something, it's a unique area which has not been discussed very widely. I think this crossroad, it's very important. Before I get into this, my sincere gratitude to the um, Dr. Dr. No, it's a Professor Bibin Joju and Dr. Virendra Mishra because these two are very inspiring people by itself. How many? I don't know. When I was very young, I don't know how many times I tried to meet him in his office, and to have like a vision for young people in India. Like I'll tell you a little later how those things works between our connections. When we were sitting and chatting, we were recollecting our memories of how we try to connect. And and my special gratitude to Dr. Saigita and her team and for putting together this particular topic and willing to have as a young scholar to come and speak at the international seminar like this. And and also, I need to convey my gratitude to a few other people. One, my student, Neeraj Kumar, one who studying at Penn now, and I was at the SWAR, the Society for Social Work Research Conference in Washington, D.C., and then he came to me, sir, the TIS is putting together Digital Age. You should go there. Maybe I want to connect you with Dr. Saigita, ma'am. That's how we got connected, and thank you, uh, Neeraj, for connecting us, and then me being here today. And the second, the gratitude, since it is a Women's Day, I want to say thank you to my mom. Without my mom, I don't think I'm here today. And my mom and dad never ever been to a school. And I come from a small, humble, tiny, teeny village between Auroville and Pondicherry. And, uh, and they prepared me who I am today and created access to the three Ivy League schools. I was at Columbia for my postdoc, and I was at Harvard for my fellowship, and I'm at Penn as a faculty. And they amplified youth voices at the grassroots with zero academic exposure. So thank you, Ma. If you ever get to watch this, it may be special for you. And another special gratitude to Professor Sheila Tajwa. And she had like very tiny time in Pondicherry University when I was doing my PhD. And I get to meet her, and every time I met her, and she encouraged me in a different level and set me to dream big. Thank you, ma'am, for encouraging me on all these stages. This has been a biggest inspiration for me since I was a very, very young boy in the village. When I called Childline the first time ever, I was trying to understand where the history of it. The Childline of India, and now it's international and it's grown much more global, it started from this campus. Now, TIS is hosting iCall. You have your field projects, social incubations. There are so many social innovations contributed to the development of this nation. And every time I go anywhere, they will ask me, are you from the TIS? I said, humbly, not really, but I wish I could have been there. But I always stayed in Pondicherry. And because of the reason is my tiny, teeny organization, I started as a youth-led organization back in Pondicherry. And so today, March 8th, it's a very special day, not because it's a Women's Day alone, it's also 15th years of a small youth-led organization started in Pondicherry on March 8th. It's called Trust for Youth and Child Leadership. And this nonprofit, by the small, humble three of us from the villages, started off. And now it's grown as a grant-making agency with a special consultative status with the United Nations and based out of New York and serving thousands and thousands of young people who are taking youth-led community development initiatives across the globe. And that is celebrating 15th birthday today. So This is a full circle moment for me. Thank you. That's one of the reason I agreed to be here on this special day. So it made it super special to me. And being one of the founder, this is the best thing I could have on youth voices in the digital age. And let me get to the topic. There's a lot of gratitude and lot of and around 79% of the young people are online today. And particularly in India, it's much higher. So we have almost 82% urban India is active on online, and 92% urban India is on online, and then 82% rural India is online. Rural young India is online. And but the concern here, access is high, yet only about 26% of them are having the people possess the advanced digital skills, particularly accessing the email, digital banking, and other advanced services which can be used. So there is a huge gap in digital skills, and around 70% of young users actively engaged in the social media, online gaming, and OTT platforms. So yes, youth are online, but the question is, youth empowered online? Because we still exist the gender gaps, digital marginalization, and digital divide, and especially youth at the bottom of the pyramid. This matters because the youth voices in the digital age, it's not only one thing. As a youth participation or like you are actively on social media platforms, it expands in the three levels. Particularly Dr. Sai Gita was mentioning about youth are users as a social media platforms, youth are contributors as a digital economy contributors, as well as youth are innovators. We need more innovators from the bottom of the pyramid. So we need more innovators from the most marginalized and vulnerable sections of the society. How many innovators are coming from the most marginalized backgrounds of this country or the world? How many Nobel laureates are coming from the women, even within the across the globe, are women from the most marginalized communities within their own countries and communities? Or it's like biggest question for us, still there's a drastic gap has to be addressed. And there is a new trend globally today. Every large mainstream platforms and companies organizing youth advisory councils and advisory boards, and including the main global systems like United Nations organizing the youth advisory boards. But who's get to participate in it? Youth who are already privileged and with access to the resources, and who already confidently communicate in English or other European languages, are institutionally visible young people who can get to be part of those spaces. So the question is the youth voices are truly inclusive, or it's a curated youth voice? I leave that to you for a reflection. For the entire next 3 days, we can continue to reflect on how inclusive youth voice can be amplified for next 3 days of our discussions. And I saw like some of the great abstracts are here, and then we are going to get to discuss about those things and have a more critical discussion on those areas as well. And when I read about this particular title, it came to me, my phone is not just a device, it's a legal space. How many of you shared a meme without verifying it? Have you shared a meme? How many of you shared a meme first? Have you ever verified? No? Yes. And shared your status or posted something with anger. How many of you shared a post with anger? Yeah. And this is the most important part. How many of you agreed terms and conditions without reading it? So many of us, or all of us, we never, the tiny, teeny letters, I don't blame you. It's the tiny, teeny letters, hard to read, it's so complex, jargon driven, we can't really read all those things. And sometimes something has to be simplified. Maybe we can go to ChatGPT to ask and simplify to understand that. That's a different other challenge which you have to undergo. But the most of us are doing all those things without understanding that we are part of the legal ecosystem. It's a critical legal ecosystem which can really cause harm to us as well as for others. And and globally, the world is moving in a very moving towards a profiling of digital presence. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. Like recently, the US announced that any visa applications you apply for the US students, your social media profile mandatorily updated in your application process. And it's not just the US. Now, yesterday, the UK made a mandatory for visa authorization to enter. And your digital presence is critical. It has been profiled and it has been requested for credit, welfare system, and any loans you are applying, your credit score, everything assessed based on your digital presence as well. It's not just like what we just share. It means digital presence will be profiled, scored, and validated. And here it is where inclusion becomes urgent. Predominantly English-driven algorithms often mispredict and wrongly flags hyperlocal, multilingual content, and context is lost, humorous become harm, and dialect becomes threat, and identity becomes suspicion. So if you are posting something in Indian languages or mixed with Indian languages, either Hindi or Tamil or Telugu, Malayalam or any of the languages, this predominant English language algorithms doesn't gonna understand and it's gonna mispredict and it's gonna flag you. And once it is get flagged, the digital storage can be stayed there for more than at least 2 decades. It stays for decades and decades. So it can, every time when your digital profile goes, it's going to get flagged by any of the government systems which you're going to go through. And the speed of algorithm faster than the speed of justice. So that's why law matters. That's why youth must be informed about the legal consequences of our social presence. We have so much of benefits. Also, it comes with I have like a lot of legal provisions for our freedom of speech and with consent. And there may be like a lot we can talk about it, but be conscious about what we are posting online. when we ask about, so there's another thing which I want to talk about. There are like a lot of young people, even India, gets a legal notice for whatever they post on online. And when I was working in the US with formerly incarcerated youth in New York City for my Interpret Me project, particularly studying the social media harm and building case-based simulation training models, so many youth has been incarcerated and the wrong punitive action has been taken against the black and brown youth because the algorithms misunderstood and mispredicted and the legal consequences are much, much harder on them. So when I talk about inclusive tech, I'm also talking about inclusive justice. Inclusive justice is matters. That's where like I was thinking about where the literature comes in. In my personal journey, I reduced all my social media posts a lot purposefully. And every time I stuck about like, hey, whether I want to post something online or not, I just go back and read something, even as a poem, even as a literature, even as a book. It changes my perspective because it produces me a reflexivity in me, try to change, and then what I want to post. The first time when ChatGPT was introduced, then I was curious about how the ChatGPT was trained on. As a tech social worker, any new technology comes, I care about two things. One, how this technology first works, and second, what is the role of this technology, what is the role of social workers in this particular technology, how we can make it more accessible, affordable, and justful for the people whom I want to work with. So when I read and other literatures, the first thing that came up to me was this particularly the ChatGPT came. I posted something on ChatGPT and asking, recommended 10 Indian doctors' names. Guess what kind of surnames would have been popped up? So, so it came, the output was producing a dominant community surnames, which is reflecting the patterns of training data, social power, and historical exclusions. Whatever the historical oppression and exclusion existed in the real-time society today, it's reproduced in online as well. And literature teaches what data really hides. We got to really understand, particularly for me, personally, when I was reading Ambedkar's Annihilation of Caste, it made me to understand how structured arguments changes the society. Because if you only consume 30 seconds opinions, your thinking becomes only 30 seconds deep. If you only agree online, never read deeply, your activism become aesthetic. I say this very with a lot of humility because I've been there. I did a lot of social activism when I was 17 with my mom on self-help. I was 13 with my mom on my self-help group, learned all the women empowerment theories with my mom's training program. When I was 17, I organized youth clubs in the villages. And I used to be like, all the Gram Sabha panchayats and sitting and raising my voices for like, bringing a toilet to my village. So everything was happened, but now I'm fear. I'm scared of like, what I want to like, amplify my voices. I go back to the literatures and then get more deeper understanding of what I want to communicate. The same brave Shiva is a little diluted now because of the threats came with this digital technologies. What I understand and learn is Growth comes when I learn to pass. In this algorithmic speed, the pass is power. Learn to pass and reflect, connect, and then act on it. That helped me. I think I'm exceeding my time. Tell me how long I have so that I limit myself. And in India, growing super, super fast with technology, because I just came back from the global India AI Impact Summit, and I could see India is rapidly growing with like a bigger technologies, particularly like the voice to text and text to voice technologies in Indian languages. It's growing much, much faster than what we expected to grow and competing with the mainstream platforms. So the Aadhaar linked system, UPI revolution, and AI integration, and massive creator economy, and digital healthcare, startup data infrastructure are growing. The critical question is, are we building digitally literate citizens or just digitally active ones? If our Digital Data Protection Act 2023, youth must understand the rights as a data principles, including the right to access data, right to correct your own data, and right to erase your data and withdraw your own consent if you have already given. These are not just abstract rights for you. These are a daily life rights which you need to aware and practice. When you understand the law, you are not restricted, you are super empowered. So for today, I want you to reflect on three things. One, don't get confused about virality and values. So virality can bring you like so much of attention for a short span of time. The values helps you to sustain your presence online. And understand your digital rights and duties. And we have to be grow as a intellectual stamina and grow as a knowledge-based resources in the age of AI to sustain, not as a consume them, to shape them. This is the first generation of young people who digital footprints will outlive them. Your post may disappear, but the consequences may not be. Media will amplify your voice. Literature will shape your thinking. Law will define your boundaries. But your integrity will define your legacy. Digital youth voice is not for the future, it is present. And the youth voices are not at the margins of transformation. Youth are at the center and be the change you wish to see in this world. And thank you, Jai Hind and Jai Bhim. Thank you.
Um, it was a super moment for us too, Dr. Shiva, to just to hear you as a young researcher and as a young faculty um, person working in the universities on the issues that we are deliberating on. Yes, he has raised many critical issues of legal space, uh, inclusion, exclusion, who's included, who is excluded, digital divide. I think so many questions for us to reflect and think over 3 days, but not to restrict this thinkings and reflections just for these 3 days, but you need to continue engage with this kind of questions. He's talking about rights and responsibilities. I think, yes, that's very important. And also, I endorse that youth is the present and not the future because we are 28.5 or 8. That's the median age of India today. Thank you so much, sir, for those thoughts. And with this, I would like to invite Dr. Virendra Mishra. Um, so we heard one great orator, and then you will hear Dr. Mishra, and he will just enthrall you with his ideas and thoughts. I would not say anything more, but I am also wanting to listen to him, sir.
Thank you. I'm audible. Is it working? Hello. So I will have to swallow this. Good afternoon. Namaste. Such a wonderful presentation by Shiva and Jojo sir. Happy Women's Day. What a day to gather here. And I see the majority are like women here. I think it is not by design. So, uh, you know, first of all, I would like to thank TIS and the organizers to have me here, and particularly Dr. Sagita. Honestly, I would have missed it, but her pursuance perhaps didn't let me go this. And now I feel that I'm delighted to be here because one, I'm meeting Shiva. Long back, perhaps he was too young then, when I was in Ministry of Youth Affairs, I think, right? When we were trying to connect, we connected, but we couldn't meet, despite all efforts. So today we are meeting here, and it was so nice to hear him. So, I was just there in the AI summit, which happened in Delhi very recently. And very interestingly, I saw that long queues there, and most of them were youngsters. So that was wonderful to see. AI summit, youngsters to be there. Few of young guys like me also were there. Because Sagita pointed out that we are getting old. I don't know why did she say that. I think that she didn't like the meal today. So we always say that age is just a number. But still, if you go by the definition, there is a definition for youth. And in India, as per the 2014 National Youth Policy, any person falling in the age bracket of 15 to 29 is a youth. So I see most of them here are in that age bracket, I think. So, but interestingly, if you go prior to 2014 policy, the maximum age was 35. And now if you go and see the demography of India, of the population, she already mentioned that India is a young country in the sense a young populated country. Because the median age of Indian population is 29, close to 29, 28.7 or whatever. So if you just round it up, it comes to 29. And that 29 again falls under the definition of youth. So as per and you know that what is the population of India right now? It's 1.47 billion. 147 million as per some UN report. In October 2025, we became 1.47 billion people here in India. Just imagine the way we are growing. And out of that, 37 crore or 371 million fall in the age bracket of 15 to 29. 37 crore. Just imagine how many countries can be consumed into that. Perhaps whole of Europe. I was just hearing this New Zealand captain saying, before the match, that we are just some in millions, population, and India is in billions, and still we are going to fight them in the finals. He said that India can have 3 World Cup teams. So this is the power that we have, the population power, and that to the youth. So it is like, 27% of the Indian population is falling in the bracket of 15 to 29 years. And if we just take that definition prior to 2014, that is 35, then 65% of that 1.47 billion Indians fall under that bracket, less than 35. Imagine 65% of the population. That is why wherever you go, you see youth. Perhaps that is the reason why in AI Summit, there were more young people, and here you are sitting, you're more young people there. We call it demographic dividend, but the biggest question here is it really a demographic dividend? If you do not guide them, if their energy is not channelized in a proper way, is it going to be dividend or is it going to be a burden and baggage? That's a big question. And particularly in this digital era. Right now, as we said, it's in the crossroads. We are trading through a phase, we are just getting introduced to a space where still we are illiterate. Even I'm illiterate. Being a cop, still there are so many cops, so many people who are becoming, getting trapped into this digital crime thing, cybercrime. It is just because we are ignorant. We have just been introduced into this space. And that is what the danger is. Let me give you statistics about what is the scale of digital users in India. I'm giving you just the stats for you to understand how important it is and where we stand right now. I'm giving the stats of India. So in India, in January 2025, 806 million individuals were using internet. 806 millions in India in January 2025. But now if you see by the end of 2025, it rose to 1.03 billion internet users. That is 70% of India population is right now using internet. And the growth is more than 6% annually. 300 million people just added in 10, 11 months. Just imagine what is happening. Similarly, for this social media users, there were 500 million individuals are there who were social media users in October 2025. That is 34.1% of the Indian population are on social media platform. So here lies the question which Shiva was trying to highlight. Are we really literate? Do we know exactly what we are doing? Or we just for fun we do it? Because as we say, the government servants, why do we process things? Engage in processes. Why do we say that you have to, go through the papers? Because we say paper is one thing which never dies. Even if you're, after 2 generations, if you want to see if the process was followed or not, we just go back and check the papers. Similarly, in digital space, nothing dies. It remains there. Whatever you're going to post, whatever you're going to do there, it will remain there. So if you are illiterate, then you are treading on a very dangerous path. That is what you have to understand. And this understanding should not limit here to this room. Whenever I speak somewhere, I get a chance to interact with people, I say that, there is no one person in room. There is always more than 5 persons in a room. Because the average Indian family would be of 5 persons. So if you're hearing something, just go and share with those 5 persons with whom you go and sit and dine. Because our culture says that at least we have one meal together. Normally we do that. Even if it's a nuclear family, we insist that one meal at least we should have together. So when you sit, tell them what you are doing. So this space is not just for one person. You're not just one person here. Imagine that you are 5, your whole family is hearing it, go and share that with them. It is important. So this, we say that this generation is, in the history is, this is a history in fact, people are just getting connected. And it's so easy, when we talk about media, creation, creating things is so easy now. I see everyone putting reels, and that those reels are making opinions now. They build your opinions. When we are discussing, even like in serious discussions, I find that people would say that I had seen this thing in a WhatsApp or in a reel. And that is very dangerous because there is a concept called simulacrum. Have you heard about it? Anyone? Simulacrum or hyperreality. Most of the things on social media, they say, is very, very far from what is real. It is created, it is simulated. And it gets so far from reality, but you presume or you consume it as being real things. And that makes your opinion, and that is how you are guided and directed. That should not happen. There was a very interesting meme, I was seeing that. There was perhaps a post saying the Indian media that, about the war news which is being telecasted. So they said that you better stop it because we are not scared staying in Iran as much as we are scared seeing your, news. We are not that much being bombarded as much as we are seeing in the news. So for TRPs, that is why the government took a decision and said that for TRP, you are not going to give false news, perhaps. There was something which there was a, the regulatory body issued a executive order there. So, just to create some hype, we use media. And as I said, nothing dies. Nowadays, when people want to interview you or see your profile, if suppose you're applying for a job, so what would they do? The first thing they do is check your presence in social media. And if you go abroad, if you go to the Western countries, and if you take an appointment, if you seek an appointment, an audience from anyone, so they would just go through your history first. They know who you are before you come. And where do they get to know that from? It is just your media, social media. Whatever you post, they come to know about it. From there, they build the opinion that what kind of man you are, or what kind of person you are. So that is why you should be very, very cautious when you are posting anything. Digital media is very dangerous. So, unbridled creation of content, the freedom that we have got right now. I very interestingly, somebody, I just love to, I'm a little bit into creative world. So I remember one guy came to me very recently when I was in Bhopal. He said that, I've come to know that you write. I said, yeah. So they said, you were involved in some documentary making or filmmaking. I said, a bit, yeah. So because my son is a filmmaker. So he said, I'm also a director. So I said, oh, what have you created? He said, many things. So he started showing me his reels. So he said, see, I'm a director. I'm a very good director. He is. But what is happening is, by creating small things, your expectations rise as if you have that knowledge. So the reality is the education, or if you want to get employed because of what you're creating, the small things, your expectations, when it rises and you don't get that, then that is highly frustrating. And that is why most of the youth today, they have mental health issues. I'm telling you honestly, this is what some of the psychologists told me when we were having discussions. It is just because the expectation and there is no real check. So when you are using or when you are doing something, it is always good that cross-check it and just see if your potential is as good as you think. Now, similarly, when we are writing the literature, another thing about the AI thing is we are using literature a lot, we are creating literature a lot, to the extent that perhaps even when we have to do some research or write some essays or anything. So we use a lot of AI platforms to do that. Now, even when we are doing something writing some creative things, there also we are using a lot of AI. But what is the danger of using a lot of AI? Don't you think it is somehow it is leading to bankruptcy of idea? We have stopped thinking. Our critical thinking power is somehow depleting. We are trying to limit our thought process. We are not believing in discussions now anymore. We don't sit in groups. We believe whatever is there in the, we can create or we can just get ideas by just checking through ChatGPT or some other AI platforms. Earlier, I remember when we used to be in the colleges or when you used to study, so everything used to discuss between the groups. We used to sit together, discuss, have long discussions, and different kind of perspectives and perceptions used to come on board, on the table. But it doesn't happen anymore. Over dependence on AI things is really eating into our creativity. That is one danger that we have to check. As I told you, when in the government, when we are working, the youngsters who have come as section officers, who are the persons who start the draft, the files. The moment you read their draft, you can figure out that it is AI generated. That's a very bad trend which is coming up now. And anything that you put there, it also somehow is endangering our internal security. If I'm in MHA, so Minister of Home Affairs, because whatever you put on ChatGPT or any of the AI platforms, that is on public domain. But this has become a habit now. And what is the AI basically? For AI platforms, what is that? That's an aggregation of all the information that is there in public domain. If you write something, suppose we want to create something, we give them some prompts. What they're going to do? They're going to pull it from the information that is available in AI. And where does that information come from? Whatever you post, whatever you have posted in earlier, or whatever you post currently. It is nothing else. I remember then when I was writing a script, and then I created a scene, and after creating a scene, then I gave a prompt to the AI, ChatGPT, and said, okay, you just write the dialogues for this particular scene. And the story was basically it had a background of a Bihar village. The dialogues and the scene that created was so flat, it did not have any emotions. But for a common man, perhaps they must have thought that, the dialogue is so powerful. But because I come from Bihar and I was there in that particular village, so I could figure out there was nothing which actually exists there in that village. Because what AI did, AI just picked it from all sources and created some dialogues. So for a person who, now because we don't go to the places, we don't go to to the ground, we don't check ground realities. So that is why you start believing in it. But actually it is far from reality, believe me. If you're a writer, if you travel a lot, if most of the social, from SW social work students, they have to do community service or they travel a lot and do some field work. So if you see and just put what exactly you want from that particular area, you'll find that you won't get the answers properly. It's going to be so flat, it's going to be more generalized. It can't be custom specific. Traditionally it won't follow anything. But we are doing it. What normally when I talk to youth, and because when I was heading NYKS and NSS, I was executive director NSS, NYKS, and I was director NSS. How many of you are from NSS here? Okay, so you have that 7 days component of going to village, getting attached to village. Do you go there? Okay. So how was your experience? Any one of you? Okay. So this is when I was interacting with students there in Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, and when I asked them how was your experience going to the villages? So there was a stark difference between students from Delhi and students from UP. The students from Delhi were asked to visit some slum areas, and they were not asked to stay there. They just went in the morning, stayed there for 4 hours and came back. But the students from UP, they had to go to the villages and stay there for 7 days. And the experience that they got, or the exposure that they got, there was a hell of a difference between that. So what we need for this youth, as I said, because now this country is basically now a youth country. So what we need to do is, we should ensure that each one of us, if you're given a chance, go into the community. The most dangerous thing that what is happening right now is there is a huge gap between employment and the education. Now AI is gradually going to take over your entry points. That's the biggest challenge that the youth are going to face. I mean, perhaps the study also says that. You won't get the job at the entry level. At the higher level, fine, because you have to take decisions. There are more policy decisions. But the job at the lower level are going to be taken over by AI very soon. And second thing is, when you go for the job, so what is that they ask for? Because what earlier people used to, the employers used to focus on was IQ. Now AI is more intelligent than you. No doubt. Because it is the mind of thousands. Here we are individual. You can't carry that much of knowledge what AI carries. So what is the strength that you have which AI doesn't have? And that is EQ, your emotional quotient. And where do you get that emotional quotient? Where do you get that? You get that emotional quotient only when you move in the community. You stay with the community, you interact with that community. And that is what is looked at when people are hiring you. I remember I was interacting with someone in US, and it was just with very senior guys. And it was a stupid question for me to ask, but still I asked them. I said, okay, tell me, what are the questions people must be asking while hiring a CEO for Microsoft or something? Because each one of them are highly placed, they have knowledge. So they said the most important question that we ask is EQ thing. How good they are to lead a team. So now in market, people are not looking for IQs. Because you can disrupt the harmony if you have got a lot of IQs. If you got a lot of IQ, if you are very, very intelligent, highly intelligent, so you have that streak of, what is that? Not just arrogance, stupidity. The genius do have that sense of, for a common man, it's a stupidity basically. But you're basically genius. So their EQ level is very compromised. So they don't want genius anymore. Genius are good for labs. Genius are not, what they expect for someone to lead an organization. They don't want them because they are going to disrupt the harmony. The organization won't work. So where do you learn this EQ from? AI is not going to teach you. Because unless and until you go and experience yourself, you won't know it. So this is the danger that we are seeing. That's why I said, you think that seeing a reel, small reel which somebody makes, that is what the real world is. But actually it is not. It falls into that category of simulacrum or hyperreality. Now coming to the legal world, and another thing, I tell you, how AI has changed, revolutionized. Can you imagine anybody fond of old movies? How many of you are fond of old movies? None? Only one? Wow. Couple of them. So I don't know if you're going to understand that. In old movies, there were a lot of songs. where a heroine would drop a book and somebody would pick it and they will start singing. Or Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas and the letter is flying. Can you imagine anything like that now? No letters, no books falling. So recently I met a very interesting guy. He's a mind reader and a celebrity. He came to me from Bangalore. So he said, he saw my library, not my library. My son is fond of reading. He's a voracious reader. I got a very good collection of books, very good collection of books. So he just saw and said, wow, you're still buying books. He said, it's been years that I haven't read a book. I just hear audiobooks. And it's so easy because I'm walking in the morning, I'm hearing audiobooks. He said, I'm cooking, I'm hearing audiobooks. So this is the revolution that has come. And the oldies still think that the smell of that paper, of the book, gives you that high. More than what an opium gives. Sir. The libraries are shrinking now. But for us, still those books, when you hold that book, the pleasure that you get, when you flip the pages, the leaves of the books, that's amazing. When you just underline them, right on the, on the sides, some notes when you make that, that's amazing. So missing it. I'm not saying that don't read audio, you just go for audiobooks or go for digital things. That's a revolution which should be accepted because in one small, equipment, you can carry thousands of books. That's fine. But let it be real book. My only request is let it be real book. Whatever is written is not to be believed there in the, in the digital space. Some of the challenges that the youth nowadays are facing is, as I told you earlier, that is the unemployment and underemployment. There was a study which was done very recently, and they said, what is this concept of underemployment? Unemployment is fine. And more dangerous is underemployment than unemployment. Because if you are unemployed, you vent out your frustration easily. But underemployment, normally sometimes you feel you have got something, but actually you haven't got. And what is the concept of underemployment? It is that the degree that you are carrying and the work that you are doing doesn't match. And why is this underemployment? I tell you honestly. Very recently, my domestic help's daughter came and said, can you just lend some money because we want to put our daughter into studies. She wanted to do B.Ed. We said, how much money she needs. She said 1.5 lakh for B.Ed. And where does she want to do that? I mean, from some Rohtak University. We said, she's here in Delhi, how is she going to do that? They said, no, they have promised that you don't have to come to the classroom. B.Ed, you don't have to come to the classroom, it's done. That is once she gets the degree and goes into the market and says that I'm carrying this B.Ed degree, and if she doesn't get a job, that is underemployment for her. That is unemployment, but if she gets a job, like an engineer coming and saying that, okay, I'm getting a job for 10,000 rupees, that is underemployment. But why? Because the quality education is not there. That is the biggest challenge. The skill set and the, your education is normally a mismatch. So that is one thing which is happening here. I mean, it's such a huge youth population, but the gap is equally huge, that underemployment. That is the reason why the stress is increasing and mental health issues are increasing. And to a great extent, I say, digital space, if not properly used, is one of the causes for that. We think we learn everything from digital space, but actually it doesn't happen. It has to be a hybrid thing. The old system of education clubbed with the new digital thing has to go hand in hand. because right now is the transition phase. We haven't come to that, like, space where we have the digital space has totally taken over. So that much of caution we have to, like, ensure and move with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful discussion. I think it's very important, um, the whole idea of mental health. So, digital and mental health. And there are a lot of studies which are coming up in the space, which are talking about mental health issues of youngsters because of digital media and engaging more with digital media. And when you spoke about life skills, EQ, I think yes, uh, there's a lot more discussions on how people can work in a team, talking about empathy and things like that. So life skills, EQ, and all are having large more weightage now because when we work in any organization or anywhere for that matter, you are working with people, you are dealing with people. So people skills has become essential, and that's core of any working culture. Uh, Thank you, sir, for making us understand about also the side effects of engaging more and not being very sure of what we are engaging with the whole content on an online platform. So with this, we are closing the inaugural ceremony, and we have organized for tea outside. We are not sure if it has come. Uh, there is a plenary session post that, um, and we may begin that soon. And the speakers for the plenary sessions have also arrived. Yes. So meanwhile, if there are any questions to Virendra sir, because he will live today, he's not going to stay back with us for tomorrow. So he is here, and it's a great opportunity for all the youngsters to have more questions or ask, engage with any kind of discussions or any doubts that you have with him. And also Shiva sir is there, but he is there with us for another couple of days, so we have time to engage with him. So if there are any questions for Virendra sir or any of guests sitting here, so time for questions or anything that you want to speak about. Okay, anything that comes to your mind in relation to the discussions that we are having for these 3 days.
Um, Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Hello. I am Masam, and I think we are working in the same field since you were in working for Kara and NISD. I'm currently working for SCPCR. So I wanted to, since we are talking about AI, um, it's not been a long month. I had a case. A young girl, she was actually exploited by one of her friends by the use of AI. So I just wanted to ask, since now a lot of children, with the help of the government funding or schemes, are able to acquire smartphones, and now since AI is also open to all, is there any form of kind of guidelines or uh, like guidebook or any kind of awareness that is going to be generated to the children through education departments or anything like that, that how to use AI or how to save yourself from getting exploited by AI?
Hello. 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 Is it good? Okay. Um, Honestly, I don't know if there are some guidelines or any guideline. But of late, there have been two states which has perhaps, like, come out with a, I don't know if it's an act or it's a policy decision. For barring the students from using social media. I mean, perhaps in Karnataka it is 16 or 15 years. Yeah. And no, in India. So it's Karnataka is like 16 and in some other state it is 13. Andhra Pradesh is 13 years. Yeah. So these two states have come up where they have barred it, but I don't know like how are they going to ensure that. Because I remember that like, when we used to get register ourselves or enroll for this Facebook and other things, so it used to be 18 years or something. But everyone used to put 18 years.
For like any companies. That's where the problem comes in. Any company comes to the Indian market. Any companies come to the Indian market, they follow the US legislations. The US legislation allows anyone above 13 can be like create an account and then manage it. But our kids, when I was interacting with like in last week, we are doing like a cyber hygiene and digital citizenship program for children in Pondicherry. When we're interacting with them, they are all having 3 accounts. They are class 6. 3 accounts, one for their girlfriend, one for their family, and one for their, they are like, it's as a fake ID, which is like they wanted to create any kind of noise. So there is no age verification opportunities are within the platforms as well as by the legislation for India. So even any of those things has to go, it has to go to California and verified and come back. That's a kind of critical situation we are in. For this particularly, maybe the Personal Data Protection Act might help if you want to process that further, 2023. Thank you, sir.
Because the thing is, it's a ground reality. Um, the children, they don't have good general knowledge. Maybe they don't know the name of the chief minister, current chief minister, or the prime minister, but they know how to use the social media, how to create an account, how to exploit it, what to do, what not to do. They know all about this, but they don't have the good awareness. Not the They don't have the good awareness. They have the bad awareness, and that gets very easily to them. So due to this, uh, since they have access to such things, that's why we are having problems in the ground real. And since um, the government bodies and all are not very well equipped or well knowledge about it, we are unable to handle things that should have been handled.
So as I told you, like 70% of the population are internet users. So if you say 70%, certainly they can't be adults. So that problem is there, but how do you check it? That's always going to remain a challenge. So that's going to be there. But
Cyber hygiene and digital citizenship program is super essential for children and all the key stakeholders who are going to work with them or who are with them. So without that education or digital literacy, it's going to make our entire life complicated for all of us. So we need to work on that. And then we are trying something in a smaller scale with the government of Puducherry in Puducherry region. And we just experimented with like almost 2,000 kids at the first level and expanding that for the next year about 5,000 kids and the teachers and parents. We just build a curriculum for children and then teachers and parents. And I do understand that like all the child protection committee members and all those people also get trained on this because most of the time they're nominated by different people and these people doesn't even have a basic understanding of the digital literacy. So that also creates a whole bunch of chaos when they appear on the like a case inquiries. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
I would just like to add the question that sir asked. Actually, in India, we have 2-3 ways where we can report any matter concerning AI mob images and all that. One is, of course, the state cyber, like Maharashtra cyber we have here. That is one. Then at the national level, there is I4C, International Cyber Crime Coordination Center.
Yeah, the portal.
Okay, that is Ministry of Home Affairs has created. It gives an online complaint forum where one can register. And also the third one, which is very important, is the Digital Media Ethics Code 2021, which is come under IT Act. So that uses the term artificial intelligence or any images or voices which is morphed by
The volume कम क्यों है इसका? सारे mics सारे mics के volume कम क्यों है?
I,
नहीं, almost have to eat it here.
yeah, is it audible? So I was just saying that under Information
Okay,
Technology
mic का
Act,
volume क्यों
there
कम
is Digital Media Ethics Code 2021. It's available online also, Digital Media Ethics Code 2021. For the first time it provides, till the time Government of India does not have a clear-cut legislation or regulations under AI, there is a provision where AI mocked images or any kind of depiction in print media, audio-visual media can be reported. If any intermediary like any hosting agency has uploaded, there can be guidelines issued based on the complaint that it should be taken down or it should be deleted and things like that. So there is one. Another one, generally in all states nowadays there is cyber. Like here in Maharashtra we have a very active Maharashtra cyber, and at national level online complaint mechanism is also available as I4C. This is cyber international cyber crime coordination center. So this is under Ministry of Home Affairs. So in all these places any AI related things can be taken up.
See, here you're speaking from the perspective of an offender, like, victim. This is an offender-centric thing. For victim, the question is when a crime is committed. But what is important is how do we educate, you know, to use people to use social media. That is what is important. How do we educate them is the most important thing, and to control. As always say, like, the most of the time the kids, because we are talking about the youngsters and particularly the kids in the, the students. So they stay either in an educational institution or with the peers or with the, at home. So we have to create an ecosystem where they are time and again told about it. So we need to educate first the teachers and the parents as well. Even in the schools, that is what we're talking, discussing, that even in the, during the parent teachers meet, the subject should be discussed. It should be told to them, to the parents as well as to the, to the teachers, that this is one thing you should take care of. Just by restricting students from taking mobiles to institutions doesn't mean they are going to be out of it. Education is important. We should focus on that. This is regulatory, like, if a crime is committed, then fine. We have a lot many agencies to work on that. But prevention is more important. How do we do that?
A very wonderful reflection from our panel members. But one thing that I wanted to add is when you talk about using school in order to create a situation of digital literacy for our youth, I think about my research participants with whom I've conducted the research for this particular seminar. They are the out-of-school children living in urban slum areas in Kathmandu. So they do not have access to institutional support or to schools, but they have very easy access to social media. And most of them, even when I offered to create privacy setting in their social media, for example, their Facebook or TikTok, they were reluctant to do that because they wanted to go viral. And you can never go viral if your accounts are private, right? So they wanted to be, as Shiva sir said, they preferred virality over values. So yeah, that sat really well with me. So when I think about protecting those children who are already marginalized, to be further marginalized using the digital spaces, I think about using the digital spaces themselves to create awareness. And this leads me to, think about the advertisement that UNICEF had long ago created. It was a cartoon, and that cartoon depicted, child sexual abuse using cartoons. So I saw that cartoon, and that cartoon was the only way I learned about sexual abuse, because my parents, God forbid, would never talk about that topic. So I believe, creating similar policies, not just by the national or international organizations, but by the government itself, perhaps could be a good way to reach those people who do not have access to institutional support. This is not a question, just general reflection from my end.
An example, I don't know how relevant this example is. Like you must have heard of rape cases where an 8-year-old girl was raped by a 10-year-old boy. And there were like, four boys there. And they were less than 13 years. And what they were doing is they were watching porno and they were just trying to experiment that. This is the impact that, like, the digital space creates in the mind of these kids, the young minds. So we have to be cautious about that. We do hand over phones, like, everyone carries a phone, and if they are not carrying it, like, if a child is, if you are busy in something and the child is disturbing, what the parents would do, give them their mobile and say that, okay, you play for a while because I am busy. The ecosystem has to come up and, like, ensure that we educate them. That is very important. That use of digital space somehow is one thing we are neglecting, and neglecting to a great extent, which we should not do it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm basically just adding on to virality over values point, but something like when you're looking at the US visa, today if you go to their site and you want a renewal or you want to apply for the visa, you must not only have your social media account, in fact now the new rules are your whole family. Your last 5 years of every email ID they have had, every mobile number they have had must be uploaded and must be given. And in case they find that there is presence of you which you have not informed, then there is a likelihood of you being rejected. More importantly, if there are family members who don't have social media accounts, you more likely are going to go through additional processing because you are now a suspect category. So if you need to make your account public, then you are applying because they need to be able to access more than the AI bots that they use most probably need to access. And so this has now become a universal phenomena where we have to think beyond. One of the reasons why the students may already be using for their game IDs and other medias the pseudo account, but and now you have varied ways of ensuring that through other platforms you're able to create email IDs that can't be traced back to you as a persona, etc. Are notions that we need to really grapple with. But I'm also wondering about what the government regulations of such kinds of visa and security measures that require these digital presence does to all of us, and what kind of pseudo personalities we are creating through those requirements.
I think I'm good without के बिना उसके भी बुलंद आवाज. Like in US, unless and until you take some loan and then you pay it back on time, so you don't develop that credit. And in India, we say that कि लोन रहित रहिए सबसे बेस्ट रहिए. खुशी दुनिया तभी है जब आप पैसा नहीं लेते किसी से. So that's a cultural difference basically. And they expect you to take more and more loan, pay it on time so that your credit goes up. So it's different. Similarly, you have to have a social media, um, presence there first to be tested. So it's fine, but it's good to be on social media. As we say that, like, this is one thing. It's a necessary evil now. You can't get rid of it. Now, interestingly, if you see even in government sector, all the official, like, meetings and everything is called or information is shared perhaps through social media. Like, on.
Now live streamed.
Now it's live streamed, yeah. Yeah, live stream. I forgot that. I forgot that. You reminded me. Thank you. So, like, these are a couple of things We should understand it's a necessary evil. You have to have it. And in COVID time, we realize that how important it is to be, to be literate about using digital space. But we have to be cautious. That is what is important. And at the same time, as I, requested you all guys, that just don't be, you shouldn't be the only person to be cautious. Anybody around you, because you're living in a community. So educate them as well. That is important. You're going to save lot many lives. We didn't talk about human trafficking. Now there is a concept of faceless trafficking, where the victims never ever saw a trafficker. Nobody approached them. Everything was online. There are n number of cases where the people are being trafficked. So they got the job online, just everything over digital space. They reached a place, and when they landed up, it turned out to be a brothel. So you have to tell them. And most of the users, and a lot of users come from a rural background. They are just happy using it. And I'll tell you, this is in lighter veins. When I was posted somewhere as SSP there, so most of the youngsters used to get caught because they used to buy a katta, which is the illegal weapon, and just show on the social media that I have it. And immediately we used to figure out, okay, this is the guy, and we used to pick him. It was his foolishness. That's viral over the values. Get viral, that a machoism or something like that, you take a katta and just play with it, and next day would land up in lockup. So, because he was not educated.
Including emojis.
Including emojis, yeah?
Excuse me, sir. I have a doubt. Like you are saying, US have the social media. Like ma'am also told us that we have to submit our social media. So like India also have it. And what about other countries, that every country we have to submit our social media? Yeah, I want to know that only.
So, the US is mandatory and India is not yet, because when you apply for overseas or foreign companies, they will ask you to social media profiles of users. Yes. But, yes. So, it will come. Eventually it will come. The UK is restricting now, and the EU is coming out with more restriction on us, particularly from the countries from the global south is being targeted on that side. So there will be more coming soon, because we will be figuring out what are the different ways to respect it.
Hello, Rudy.
Sir, I want your opinion on the topic of underemployment. What steps the government take to tackle underemployment, and what advice will you give to youth in case of underemployment stress?
I'm supposed to respond. Yes. See, it is underemployment.
So one thing, why do you always look at the government for a solution? Fine. That was a question to you. See, underemployment, certainly unemployment and underemployment is a big problem. More because, perhaps the job availability is less than the people who are getting educated. But the question is if at all you're properly, if you've gone through that education system and if you have confidence, if you're not getting a job outside, you can be self-employed as well. But that confidence is missing, because what Skill India or other government programs are coming up with is that if at all you have some skill, they're giving you enough opportunity to establish your own, you can be an entrepreneur, enterprises or anything. But because you don't have that much of education, it is just the degree that you are carrying. So you just look for that formal jobs. That is why this underemployment is a big problem. Otherwise, there are a lot of opportunities. And you can see that even the ITians, they're not looking for any job. They're opening their own shops, doing great, becoming billionaires. Did I answer your question or not? But again, I saw your face, आप जो पढ़ते हैं उसको ध्यान से अच्छे से पढ़िए, अपने पर विश्वास रखिए, आपको बढ़िया कुछ ना कुछ मिल जाएगा. self-esteem, self-confidence. Good enough.
सिर्फ एक क्वेश्चन ले सकते हैं अभी and then we will break.
Hello everybody, good afternoon.
चाय आ गया है, खुशी मनाइए.
There's a next round. People can continue. We both are in the same.
Yeah, please.
Hello sir, good afternoon. My name is Akshay Thakur and my question is to Mr. Virendra sir. You are part of an MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, and last so many decades you are working in the police service. So has AI actually eased down your job or it has put an additional burden? And what are the changes in some formal training or capacity building for the police service, personnel for that in some last years to tackle it?
It's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. See, when we are talking about this, for crime detection, AI has come up in a good way. It's wonderful. So as the criminals are growing, similarly the police is also growing. We are also using the AIs, or we are using AI tools and other things to nab the culprits, accused. That's fine, it's happening. And even the forensics is doing very good. We are developing, we are evolving. So those things are happening. The I4C thing which somebody was mentioning about, I think you ma'am did that. I4C is helping to apprehend the cyber crimes, but particularly the digital crimes. So digital arrest and other things, and lot many people are getting money back immediately because of that I4C's intervention. So that's happening. Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for your questions. We can break for tea now. And a small request कि हम 10-15 मिनट से ज़्यादा ना ले और वापस आ जाए because we have an interesting plenary session. And the theme is Global Youth in Digital Cultures, Identity, Communication and Intelligent Technologies. So in this plenary session, we have Dr. Anusha Ramanathan and Dr. Shiva, and they are going, and Ritika Khunna ma'am, and they are here to make a presentation. And we are inviting Dr. Virendra Mishra sir to chair the session. So if I can invite Ritika to make the presentation, but before that, sir would like to, introduce them and make some notes.
Oh, the side? Yes, 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 yes.
I request first Ms. Ritika Khunna. She's CEO of Prava, Delhi, and she's going to present on youth as partners in development, enabling self-leadership and collective impact for systems change. Wow, what an interesting subject. So she's a seasoned development sector leader and a gender expert with over 2 decades of experience in youth development, organizational capacity building, leadership facilitation, and strategic resource mobilization. And she currently, as I said, she's a CEO of Prava and provides strategic and operational leadership to advance youth-centric development and ecosystem strengthening across India and beyond. So may I request you to present? Yeah. So by what time are we expected to end it, ma'am? Sagita?
1 hour is maximum,
So 5:15.
including your discussion. So 10 minutes.
Yeah, the challenge is I have a 8 o'clock flight.
10 minutes each of us.
So please let us limit it to 10 to 12 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
I send it.
And who's the next speaker?
Okay, can you hear me? Yes? Now, so I'd like to make it more interactive because it's 10 to 12 minutes sir has given us. So if we look at slides, etc., I think it will take more time. And I think what one would like to do is some of the points that one wants to really foreground today. I guess we can talk about it and then have a discussion. And I think that's the format one would like to use. And to start us off, I think I'd like to start with a story. How many of you would like to hear a story? Huh? Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Stories.
So the story goes like this. So there was this professor. We are sitting in TIS. Oh, by the way, I'm also a TIS pass out. So alumni, and Tripti ma'am was my teacher many years ago. So I was just saying, I passed out 26 years ago from this campus. So it's very special to really come back to this campus and just see and meet all of you here and still understand the relevance of what we are doing, especially a lot of young people that are there in India and around, in that sense, in the global south. So yeah, starting with the story. So there was this professor who was very interested in knowing what is it that about Zen Buddhism. So a lot of young people around the professor were asking about the Zen Buddhism or what is the Zen Buddhism. So this professor, somebody told, he went to a seminar like this that we are sitting here, and he was told that go to this monk who is at the really at the mountain top. There is this Zen monk who's very learned, who knows everything about Zen Buddhism. So somebody tells this professor that why don't you go and meet him, because this professor has read everything, all the books around Zen Buddhism. He's written a lot of research papers, etc. So many years he's put into Zen Buddhism, and finally somebody says that this is the guy you need to meet. So he does this whole journey, because monks, you don't find them on plains. Monks like to be sitting on some mountain top, so that it's a little difficult to reach. So finally, after an arduous journey, this professor reaches the monks' monastery in that sense. And it's around 4 o'clock in the evening. So it's tea time. Like we just finished tea. He's also, the monk is also having tea. So he says, okay, get tea for the professor. And the Zen master, and the professor starts telling the Zen master about what all he's done to really build his knowledge around Zen Buddhism. So he says, I've done this, I've written so many papers, actually my thesis is also on Zen Buddhism, I've read so many books, etc., etc., and he keeps going on. And the master, the Zen master, keeps pouring the tea in the cup for the professor, and he keeps pouring till the tea is overflowing from the cup. And he goes on and on and on. And the professor also goes on and on and on about what all he's done and how he has really built his understanding and knowledge about Zen Buddhism. And finally he sees that the master is continuing to pour the tea in the cup, and then it's all overflowing. So then suddenly he says, stop, the tea is overflowing. So the master smiles and then stops pouring the tea and just looks at the professor. What do you think? What do you think he would have told? What do you think the master told the professor?
You already have all the answers.
Okay, right. Anybody else? Okay. One more response. Yeah. Right? So yeah, the master said that yeah, your cup is already full, so no more will go in. Right? Because you're already full, there's nothing more that anybody can put in. So really the takeaway in that sense, or moral of the story, is that we need to empty our cups. And what do we mean by empty our cups is that when we started, it was a really very phenomenal, the first part of the session or the first part of the day, where a lot of points, I guess, one was trying to put across. I think there is a lot of
similar understanding in that sense of what's the need and where we are driving things in today's India, at least. So basically, if our cups are filled and we have not emptied our cup, then how do we really learn, or when we are talking about social change, when we are talking around here sitting at this, and when we are talking about this international seminar on youth voices in this digital age, the idea is that social transformation out there can happen only if it goes along with inner transformation. And Professor Bipin Jojo touched upon that, how working on self is equally important, or needs to go in hand with what we want to do out there. In the session before that, when we were talking about this digital transformation and how do we really get rules or regulation or laws that can help younger people. And I think the answer lies in so many rules or so many guidelines the government can make. But ultimately it is about how much I am using my own education to really work. Am I really equipping myself with the tools to really work with how the world is changing? And like Sir talked about, in terms of educating ourselves on how to use this digital media more effectively, I think the answer lies there in digital literacy, like we were talking about. And for that matter, anything that we learn, are we really being able to really adapt and become lifelong learners? And there is a lovely, the school is also named, that's hosting this seminar in that sense of really lifelong education. So any institute or any curriculum or any tool can only give us X, Y, Z in that moment of time. But it is for us to really be able to then take it and do something with it, which is own it in that sense and make it our own. And unless we learn that skill to really fish for ourselves, it's very hard. Like somebody asked that question there, and he's very, yeah, you were asking, sir, about underemployment, and very rightly said that I think we are past that age as young people where somebody needs to give us something on a platter. I think we need to be able to then tatolo ourselves. This is a Hindi, I'm from UP, so Hindi flows very naturally to me, and the words are very, very typical. So yeah, that's why I'm not slipping into Hindi, because people from that area will relate to it, but otherwise no. So therefore, we need to really look into ourselves and see, am I doing the most that I can to really help myself achieve whatever my aspirations or goals are? Am I relying too much on out there, that are my teachers doing things, are my parents doing things? So it's an age where we need to be able to fend for ourselves, and that's when Sir also rightly pointed out, it's about self-confidence and building and doing whatever it takes to really build my own skills and my own capacities to be able to then figure out what my aspirations are, and B, to be able to understand that what is my institute being able to give or my job is being able to give, and if there's a gap, how do I really bridge that gap? Through reading, through meeting people, whatever those mechanisms or means are. So that's one point. Not to say that systems don't need to also align with really meeting young people's aspirations. So it's at both ends. Young people need to be more self-reliant in fending for themselves, and entrepreneurship is really a very, very great option in today's India, because naturally we are very, I think in the DNA of all of us, there is very famous Hindi word of jugaad. In that sense, we are very, very attuned to really innovation, and from very limited means being able to develop something that can really offer a lot of solutions to not just myself or out there, and give employment to 10 others. So what stops us from doing that is maybe some amount of life capacities, life skills, not enough confidence and exposure to really have faith in my own self. And therefore, some of the programs, some of the integral elements, even in the skilling curriculum right now, there is a whole 80-hour curriculum, 80 to 120-hour curriculum on employability skills that the government is also offering, and all skilling institutes are also offering, which is basically around how do you build your own skills and capacities to be able to understand the technical aspects of whatever you're doing. It may be mobile repairing, it can be computers, it can be electrician, but until unless you have that capacity to be able to understand what's happening with me, it's very difficult. And that's where the role of mentors come in. And I feel that that's another thing I'll foreground of really the role of mentors for young people. Because until and unless we have mentors who can then help whatever is happening around me, help me process that, okay, this is happening around me, how does it change who I am and what I do. So that's the other aspect of mentoring that I don't know how many of us understand the role of mentoring and what do they mean by mentoring. Would anybody like to share? Has anybody had a mentor, has a mentor, want to have a mentor? What do we mean by mentoring?
We get a path. We get a proper path.
You get a proper path. Okay, you get a proper path. Okay, who gives you that path?
Like whoever the mentor is. Like,
Okay.
I have studied since like last 8 years. So I have faced the problems. Then I get a mentor.
Right.
That is in 8th standard. The class teacher was the mentor.
Right.
Like in 11th, 12th, there are special mentors for in classes.
Right.
In external. Then the mentors learn our routine and
Right.
give an advice because
Right.
they have experienced lot.
Right.
And they give a path.
Right.
If we follow that path, we become a better version of us.
Right. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? So who are the other mentors? Teachers can be our mentors, right? Who are the other category of people that we meant can play the role of mentors for us?
Our friends.
Our friends, okay.
Our parents,
Your
the main
parents?
one are the parents because they help us from our childhood
Okay.
to get our success.
Okay.
And our sports coaches, like I play football, so I have my coaches which they help me to get every day better and better and with the new skills.
Okay. Who else? Anybody else? Okay, excelled in what way?
Let's say I want to be a writer. So
Yeah.
I can go for suggestions from other writers as mentors.
Okay. Anybody else? See, we have to be also careful of when we are talking about mentors. One is technical mentoring, which is say writing or football coaching. But we also need to see, are they also being able to provide what we are saying life coaching, right? So I'm just saying that there is an importance of both, because what we are saying is we need both. We need the technical coaching as well, whether it is in this area, into a specific area, or any other subject that I want to pursue. But am I being able to also get life coaching? But it's also, is it, if it's being offered on a platter to me, or will I fend, or will I search for my own mentors? And anybody and everybody can be really that mentor for us. Yeah, we'll take inputs a little later, because there's lots that are there, and I know there's a time. Yeah. So last one point I'd like to really bring about. We were speaking about demographic dividend, and how can we make how young people can be demographic dividend, or sir said that they can also. I would also like to say how the young people can also be demographic multipliers. And how do you make young people demographic multipliers? My suggestion that I'd like to place is to really include them in decision making. Give them a seat at the table. Give each one of you a seat at the table, not just for participation, but wherever the decisions are being taken, whenever the agenda is being set. Can young people, so that we don't become like we are youthful at heart, like Tripti ma'am said, that now necessarily a sir gave us the age group, so we are no longer young people, so rather than we being the voice, I think the young people need to be the voice for themselves, and let's bring them more on the table. And Prabha has played a very instrumental role in also the youth advisory board that sir talked about, and we have made a lot of effort that how can we have diverse youth voices into the youth world. So the UNICEF Yuva just finished the whole process of not just selecting young people from across the country, and they went through a very elaborate process to do it, but also really handhold the young people on how to build their capacity so that when they're sitting in the boardroom, they're able to voice their opinion. It's not very easy to be able to do that. So I think just wanting to place a couple of these thoughts in front of us, and and how do we really change the systems that touch young people every day, so that we see an India which has a lot more youth voice, which is a lot more, so that all of you are not spectators, but you guys are also as much, you are as much participating in the agenda of what we are really creating for just not the future like we have been talking about, but the here and now. Thank you.
A wonderful way of setting, she's a trendsetter, exactly 13, 14 minutes. So I look at others. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I'll sum up later, but very good points that you have raised during your presentation. Now I would like to introduce, you'll go next? Yeah. So Dr. Anusha Ramnathan, and a very interesting profile she carries. I mean, she's a teacher, researcher, poet, and innovator in English language. So that is one thing which is very catchy, like, innovator in English language. And besides that, she's creative, and she's a visiting faculty at undergraduate and postgraduate levels across English, media, and business studies. She's teacher, trainer, researcher, content developer, and curriculum designer in 20 plus years of work experience. So, like, highly talented. So we're going to hear her now.
You also have to see the presentation.
And she's presenting the third voice in the room, AI pedagogy and future of youth communication. Wow.
That'd be cool.
Let's move a bit. Let's move a bit on that side. Would you like to see this?
Yes, we'll move.
Not supposed. So I put it in the reading mode. आता नहीं अभी आया था या हाँ Okay, I'll just start in the interest of time because we can just work with it. And anyway, those were visuals that Notebook LM had generated. I thought if I'm going to do the youth voice, and she said we have to be young at heart, then I should prove that I'm young at heart. And so I'll just start. We can see it. It was an interesting visual, yes. So we will Windows P. Duplicate. नहीं, एक minute करते हैं. Yeah, I'll just redo it. Or I can just extend it. हाँ. नहीं, वो एक ही है उसमें. All right, we will see it. As he is setting it up, I don't think we need to be worried about what that as that is coming through. So what I wanted to talk about was a third voice in the classroom, and thank you, Dr. Virendra Mishra and Dr. Shiva, for already setting a lot of the points that I wanted to say in context. So I can go fast and I can go quick with this. So if we want, we can switch on to that maybe. Okay, all right. So as we are going, I can share the PPT with you. If you want to see the very fancy comic graphic novel generation that Notebook LM generated on the paper that I was trying to write for the topic. And I've already crossed a lot of my time. So I will just start with the fact that I'm going to present my own voice experiences as a teacher. So while Dr. Virendra Mishra was saying about these elements of how AI is to be used and how critical voices have to be brought in, I will also, like Ritika, begin with a story. And the story is of my classroom. So in my classrooms, what I see is elements of meta used. I will find a classroom where students in one semester were extremely quiet, very diffident. They come in and walk into tests from various pockets of the climate to come in. You want to exchange, you can do that. So they will come into those elements and exchange it. And they would want to focus upon, trying to understand our very difficult papers. Because we give very robust academic exercises. One of the first things that students come to test and figure out is, oh, there are no textbooks. Oh God, we have to refer, there are only papers, and they are all diverse papers on one topic. And we have to read and finalize all that. And so as they are doing that, they then go on to, and this is a post-COVID phenomena and a post-internet usage, high economic, resource elements. Thank you. I'll figure this, yes, thank you. So this is what they would come across and work on, right? And so they will use these phenomena elements that they are working on. And suddenly in the classroom, I will find that the voice, which was from, it's supposed to be dialogic, and it's supposed to be elements in terms of the dialogue between a student and a teacher. And in that space where Vygotsky says that, you should have a zone of proximal development, you should have these elements where teachers and students are engaging, I will find that there is a cognitive process that's changed. There's suddenly a third voice in the classroom, and that third voice is AI. And what students have done is mediated their voices through this wonderful processing machine, where they have migrated some of their thought processes from the cognition to the element of figuring out how they can reword it, reshape it, rejig it into a more academic discourse. And suddenly there are some voices which ask a question, which is, they would have asked this, and I can show it in a sense that their ranges, their voices have disappeared. And so the bruh that comes in so many people's voices, that's one of the least acceptable ones that are coming in. There are so many of those F words that they have to strike out as they are speaking to teachers, because that's natural, right? It is as natural as breathing. It's an exclamation mark, it's your exhalation, and then the F word has to drop. But yar, cool, and sus, and those kinds of vibes, words that is there, has to suddenly move in from what Bakhtin would call the heteroglossia to this monoglossia that we have of academic discourse. And they're very frightened. A lot of the students are really frightened of how to do that. And in that space comes in AI. And I'm really, we've been sharing it as teachers, we are very frankly tired of reading all those very great research dissertations and assignments that are now Grammarly AI edited and have no style or voice in them. We used to love, now regret and repent having given Grammarly AI to y'all, because, we would love tearing our hair out, trying to understand what was that sentence trying to say. Now we are trying to say, why did they say it? And it's said very well, but we don't know what is being said. It is constructed properly. And so that's one of the elements that comes in. So there is this socio-linguistic laundering that happens using AI, where students are, basically there would be some student who has thought about it very colorfully, that, education system is kind of sus, because it says critical thinking, but mostly wants memorization, no cap. And I've been trying to channel Gen Z language. So, but in order to make it sound academic, which is that very boring structure, what happens is, while you're saying that there is
the assessment process has created a fundamental tension between stated pedagogical intent and actual evaluative design. And you know that the voice, the feeling, the emotion, the frustration has all disappeared, not only from that talk, but from the room. And so typically a lot of these elements that happen in the classroom is that the room is kind of collapsed. And at times, I wonder whether I'm teaching students or meta, because at times it feels that they're plugging into meta and saying, what's the question that I can ask the teacher to impress her? It literally feels that they have asked that question at times, but it does give them confidence. The students who were very diffident to articulate themselves find confidence in it. And they, over a period of time, realized that their thought had value. They realized what they said and what what they thought and what meta articulated for them was one and the same. And then they wonder, why can't I say it? And so over a period of 2 years, you also see them grow. You see them develop their voice. So you do have AI coming in as an interlocutor, as a mediator, as a translator, but also as an enabler of thoughts, of engagement, of processes. But sometimes it is also lost, because there are times when I'm like, who am I teaching here? There is, it's almost like Meta will take notes and I will figure it out when I need to, and I can get Notebook LM to make a video summary of it faster than this teacher can teach. She's repeating herself too much. So it gives you that sense, and one of the things that happens and is lost in it is presence of the student. And really education is about connection. It's about social bonding. This could have been an online conference, but coming here, engaging, being told that tea has to be taken in 10 minutes and then having to rush and find the bathroom and then come back has its own pedagogical purposes. Your brain is active, your brain is engaged, and you're meeting people and engaging with them socially, and you are therefore remembering better, and you're connecting ideas better. And the brain is as much a muscle as any of your body parts, which needs a lot of elements. So I'm going to go back to one of the questions raised earlier as to what happens when AI comes in. And really, it's not a question of integrity. I don't think we should be wording it as institutional authorities as integrity question. It's not about cheating or not cheating. It is about what is the voice erasure that is happening when we use AI. If AI is enabled to amplify your voice, your style, great. If AI is, so if you want virality, because the virality that is happening is because of what you said, you've thought, you experienced, wonderful. But if it is about something that you feel is going to be a pseudo-self for what will become viral, that is AI erasure of what you are doing, and it would be as much an oppression, and it's an oppression that you invite on self, and pay for it in many a case, literally financially out of your pocket, to be able to erase yourself. So that's a question that comes in, and Chen has a very nice diagram which I didn't include in this, but it kind of speaks about how you can go from fully human to being fully erased by AI. So think about the algorithm as a 5-star hotelier. Most of us are in blocks. We are in a way where the AI will always praise you. You go into AI, it will always say, that's a wonderful question. I mean, I've done Notebook podcast, and one of my thing is 23 questions of interrupting that podcast and asking it a question. And it was always wonderful question, essential question, such a necessary question, fundamental question. I was always praised because it needs a 5-star rating. It needs you to come back. It doesn't care if your nutrition is destroyed. But we need a caretaker who will make it more about what is the nutrition you need. And therefore, there needs to be productive tension in that entire grid. And the holistic counter algorithm grid has to be about a fact where if we want to do critical thinking, I need to understand what was this made of, who made this, why was it made, who is it created for, who will it benefit? Asking those kinds of questions where the algorithm has to speak something, or creativity has to say that there is novelty and connections that come through, and really wondering how those diverse systems come in. For instance, this looks fancy, and honestly speaking, I could not have made this myself. But it required a lot of prompting, and it was about 8 iterations of doing this before I got here. And even then, this is a version of 3 versions mismatched into the entire element. And that's an element of where your own creativity has to come in. And that's a lot of also water wasted. So let's also think about climate change while we are at it. But communication and addressing the audiences, figuring out how they are, and acting with AI as a collaborator where you push back against it, is really a necessity element of what we need to do in our classrooms, and what I think as it is not about just classrooms, but public pedagogy needs to act on it, where everyone is taught through films, through radio, through YouTube, and those influencer posts that everyone watches, and those 1-minute reels. We need to see how we can actually ensure that those limbs comes in. So yeah, I am almost done. And so we move on to the element of saying that we need that register flexibility, and we need to make, wherever possible, the machine visible in its activities and focus, and ensure that education must be a care center where we keep the youth voice unmistakable. And so it is on you to figure out how you will do the counter algorithm measures, but it's also on the education and the pedagogy to ensure that this comes through. Yeah, I'm done.
Yes.
I have to do Virendra sir's role here, policing.
I just didn't want to disturb her because people were very engrossed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to disturb you because you were doing amazing. People were too engaged, engrossed there. Well, we have a last presentation for this session, and I think Dr. Sagita has already introduced Shiva in detail, and after that, Shiva has himself introduced in detail. So, so I think it's good that we hear him now. Yeah, thank you, Shiva.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for all the previous presenters. I don't want to discuss more about the title of this presentation. You'll all get to know me and all this. And I just wanted this whole presentation. I want to emphasize about 4 of my projects. And one, the data point which we've been discussing about youth, and where the youth are. So the majority youth are in the global south, and the global south culture matters. That's all I want to say for now. And what is a cross-cultural identity looks like for us? One, the way we live and living between the cultures. Even people who are living in Bombay have a cross-cultural lifestyle here. It's nothing like a one single culture, and our identity lives with us. We speak something at home and we speak something else at the professional spaces, including now. So, and navigating the different value system and a sense of belonging. No more sense of belonging to one geographical location anymore. We are belong to the world, and that world is more universe. And the global generations now as the digital natives, hyper locally connected world, and then globally trends instantly, and then shared youth cultures exist now. So anywhere in the world, anybody can be instantly famous and comes through. But what matters now for us when we're trying to understand is the power of local. So being rooted, being locally connected, it matters. One, our own languages. And every time I try to work with LLM model, I try to work with them in the local languages, see what kind of cultural context it brings to me. And the food. The entire social media ecosystem is built out of the food culture of India and around the world. And the family traditions and the community institutions which we belong and work together, and then cultural memories we carry, and then context we set how we work and build together on the setup is matters now. So how do we get through all these things when we are amplifying the youth voices in the digital technologies? So AI is trying to bring and reinforces the new culture. The feeds are coming to our own faces and then influencing what is our identity can look like. Our identity can be defined by the AI in a different ways. If you send like multiple prompts and that prompt itself builds your own identity. And then we are building a virtual communities, and then the digital self-representations pops up your own style. And then that may be like, creating a story or like your own profile. That's where like you're doing, if it is a metaverses comes in, then you're probably creating your own avatars. So that's a completely a different identity, which the virtual identity you can build on. Then our cultural contact can be completely different. So in order to address that, and there are two approaches I use in my own research work. One, human-centered design approach. Human-centered design approach, it's a framework, helps us to work with individuals and communities what is their need, challenges, and what they really wanted to build out of it. And anybody like thinking about it, like, we want to build a technology, we should like move towards a human-centered design approaches where we can work together. Yeah, like the previous presenter was talking about, where we are leaning towards, whether we are leaning towards AI or leaning towards like a people, and then what we find a balance is using a human-centered technology, human-centered design approach. And within the human-centered design, there's like a little more inclusivity needed where we can bring the design justice approaches. Design justice helps you to rethink your process, centering the people who are normally marginalized and vulnerable by design, and use a collaborative and creative practices, address the challenges the community facing. So most of the time, when the other person talking about like, how we bring a diverse voices into the spaces. And then if we are deploying these technologies, who's going to be using these technologies? And then how those voices can be brought into the place. And when you are using a design justice approaches, that principles would enable you to do it. I'll tell you like a quickly, I don't want Sat to miss a flight. So I'll try like, 4 different projects which I quickly run through. The 3 projects are used in the US and then like 1 in India. So the first project is a digital healing project, co-creating youth digital art space for a well-being. So we work with like, we have a lot of evidence that like, art therapy works efficiently for well-being of young people. But digital artwork, we don't have much of evidences. So we try to work with the youth in Philly, in New York, and trying to co-plan, co-learn, and co-design with them, and try to understand what exactly they wanted to have in that creative space they wanted to do it. So they define every elements. When you talk about like, decision making, what is the leadership really comes in making a right decision at the right time, and in the design process, who makes the decision? Most of the product we are using, none of us are having a power to make any of the decisions. We are just the users. So when youth are building the technologies along with the design justice approaches, and they have a power to make every single decision and making that features what is really works and what is culturally responsive for them, and then how this can be built and powerfully used for their own well-being. So these are like some of the design process, and then like a complete navigations which we have done, and then final product came out as a tool. If you really want to learn more about it, like maybe you can just go to the Crybaby Art and then learn more about it. That's also available for you. And the second project, we talked about like, how we post things on social media. Often like, without cultural context and understanding any hyper-local languages we use, and anything we are posting on like, songs or a comedy, anything you post that could be misunderstood by the algorithm, could be like, taken into a wrong punitive action against the people, particularly for young people, because they don't know the consequences, they put something on. So what we do, but particularly the US is like much more difficult. Like, we were discussing about multiple other issues. And we did a co-design with the formerly incarcerated youth and tried to build this tool called Interpret Me. So how do we interpret my own content in a culturally contextual manner? One, like, we built 2 different models. One is like, we need to teach the stakeholders to understand how you can understand my own cultural context. And then second is, there's a live tool to interpret your own social media post. So the interpret me allows the people to learn more about it and reflect and contextualize and interpret it, make more informed decision about any post that comes in. Particularly the law enforcement people and the journalists and school administration, those people make a decision about young people a lot on their social media posts. So for them, we created an exclusive case-based simulation modules to train them on, and then we can bring like this also like important to have this kind of transdisciplinary collaborations. It's not only like a done by us and then like tech ethics lab and like my affiliation with the Institute for Rebooting Social Media at Harvard and Social Media Lab at the Stanford, Teacher Moments Lab at the MIT, and I'm super grateful for my grantors like Brown Institute of Media Innovation, and along with working with the community partners like a Brownsville Community Justice Center, where the community partner helps us to design because they have lived experiences. That lived experiences matters, and they shape the new technologies much better, and then that works for their own cultural context. And who are all the people who been affected by this, and they should be part of the decision making process. And the other part is like we talk about like a lot about like a posting online, and then like when we discuss with young people, they said that we can't really see more negative. And how do the culturally responsive joy would look like for you? Culturally responsive joy is like more of like how our families operate, how we food and discuss, but often our social media post comes with a lot of negativity, lot of toxic content. So we built an algorithm along with the youth and filtering the entire like a negative and toxic content out of it, and then producing a thematic culturally responsive joy content based on the themes they pick, either a family or a food or fashion, sports. We bring only culturally responsive systems and try to understand if is there any kind of a mental health, positive mental health outcome for those young people. We try to do that like that's possible because when we have like this culturally responsive design model. This is for the US. For India, it's always my heart lies in India. I was like doing for a lot for the US, and then I said like maybe the suicide. We work for like a suicide prevention in Pondicherry and beyond. I thought like there's a lot of suicidal ideation expressions on online by young people of India, and particularly when they're expressing in Indian languages, there's nothing to predict by any of the LLM models or like any of the content moderation team can. Facebook had a once upon a time, but they take it off because content moderation much more difficult to do it. So we are currently co-designing like a web plugin which try to identify the suicidal expression online in Indian languages. Particularly, I'm trying to do it in Tamil and Hindi, so that like an experiment can go well, and then we see how it predicts the ideation in the Indian cultural context and offer culturally responsive systems. So considering all this, when you work with the youth, it not only helps you to build a technology, it also informs the policies. So we can also work with youth and gather the information and produce a more AI policies from the youth insights itself, so that we can bring more culturally responsive safety frameworks for young people in the technologies. When we're reimagining the identity, their identities are more fluid and dynamic here, and technology is just a tool, it's not a master for you. You just use this assistive tool. Just remember that. And the diversity is always a strength, and the youth are global change makers. You're going to make this difference. So India is like a building already in the taking a space. Sarvam AI is taking over, and then it try to respect the AI, every culture, Indian languages, and the collaborative process are coming up, and technologies building with empathy would pave a path. Let's stay rooted in our culture, connected globally, empowered digitally. Nothing about us without us. Just be there. And thank you, Nandri, and see you all later. Let's catch a flight. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Shiva. So thank you all the three speakers here. Miss Ritika, like, her concept of working on self and, like, togetherness, critical and creative thinking part. Is it good? This one is working, right? Yeah. I thought this is working, yeah. So, so that was a wonderful presentation, more practical, and the work that you guys are doing is amazing. And one thing she talked about is demographic multiplier, and the youth participation in governance or decision making. That is one thing is very important, because and the responsibility has to be taken by youth as well. I mean, sometimes we expect, as we were talking earlier, like, the things have to be served in platter. You just speak about it, you vent your voice, you say that should happen, and expect that it should come to you. It's a cutthroat competition. We have already spoken, like, when you're speaking about the youth, I was very interestingly, I was presenting somewhere. In fact, I was giving a TEDx talk. So I was giving an example of, there were a lot many school students sitting there. So they were like 10th to 12th grade. I said, what does your teacher expect from you? The teacher would expect, like, they would give priority or more favor to a student who is meritorious, who is performing very well and having a good grades in the class. Actually, it's a wrong thing. Not just because, like, grading should not be done, but because your competitor is not in the class. If you're in 10th or 12th class, you are just pursuing one particular, perhaps, board. So if it is like CBSE, so how many schools must be like having CBSE then? How many schools must be having ICSE? And when you are paying for, like, suppose you are a science student appearing for this, exams, it's ZE or NEET. So how many students are there? The person who is sitting next to you in the classroom is not your competitor actually. The competitor is outside the world. But if you join hands there in the class and work together, perhaps you're going to grow more. This thing is what the teachers don't teach you. So we have to move together. So perhaps that is what you talked about. So, like, if you start joining hands, and the strength that we have, as we said, like, demographic dividend. So when we say demographic dividend, then demographic dividend means that youth has to come together. You are not your competitor to each other. But if you work together, then certainly, like, you can change the world. That potential you have in you. And what Dr. Anusha said, like, that was very interesting, shifting from cognition and absence of voices in the classes. That we can see that. And perhaps, like, that is what we have been speaking in the room. I mean, when we say, when I was talking, like, and I told you that we used to sit in groups and discuss. Just imagine how much cultural diversity used to come in that group. Me and my brother, who have studied have been sitting on the same bench since class 5 and did a graduation together. But still we are totally different persons. Our perception and perspective is different. Just imagine, like, if you have 10 10 students sitting together and discussing something, how much cultural diversity, how much thought process is going to be on the table? You learn from that, and that is totally missing. Missing in this educational system, missing anywhere. I'm telling you honestly, even in offices, that is missing now. I mean, now we are having all these online meetings. I remember when somebody was teaching us communication when I was doing my MBA, they said, like, more than the words, the language, it is the body language. The verbal language, it is the body language through which you can sense. Like, if in police, if you suppose have to figure out if he's telling truth or lie, we just follow the body language, not his words. And that is absent. When you said, like, absence of voices, so that is there. So how many things we are missing through that interaction? That is one thing which AI perhaps is snatching from us. And youth has to understand that. The learning process comes when you meet each other. As I said, go into the community. Just talk to them. There's so much of diversity, and always it is a learning. You're always on a learning curve. When you're here in this room, you're learning something. When you move out, you're learning something. As we say in physics, like, if two things come together, there is exchange of energy or exchange of, electrons or ions, whatever. Similarly, when you meet a person, there is some exchange. If you're mindful about that exchange, then there will be takeaways. The point is we are not mindful. Everyone who is sitting here has been learning something from each other. We are sitting outside and having a cup of tea and having some samosas. So many things we exchanged. Maybe not many things I am going to take back, many things you are going to take back. So it is just because of the interaction. AI is not going to teach you, believe me. So that is wonderful thing that you put, and that hadn't we seen that, I would have missed really something. Yeah. That was wonderful. Though the credit goes to AI, but
legally I am the author. Prompt engineering. Legally I am the author.
So, I was just asking someone, I said, if I want to do something, so I'm not getting it properly. So the other guy who was explaining AI said, because your prompts are wrong. So that's why I said AI is smarter than you. So that was wonderful. And, lot many innovations he's been doing, and those are all human-centric.
And they're all open. You didn't say that they are free and open to use.
He's like that entrepreneur who first gives you freebies and then after then he charges. No. He's good. He's not going to take money from me, but advertisements would, cover that expenses. Don't worry. But anyway, just imagine how good things that he's bringing forth. Making AI human-centric is so important. I was just talking when we were there outside in the morning when we just interacted for the first time after years, gap in years, So I was just telling my son was in London. So just giving a short story because I got prompted because of these two ladies. So I thought even I'm a storyteller, I should tell a story. Why should I? See, already I got a call from there. So. When my son was studying in London, so he had a fallout with some guy. He was an African-American guy. So he was his classmate, roommate. And after that fallout, they were roommates. And they were gelling very well. So after the fallout, one day, while they were having some exchanges, so he told him, you got nothing to do other than just cooking rice and chicken. It was a simple, casual remark. Just imagine if we would have easily said in Hindi, बोलते ना, तुमको कोई और काम नहीं है क्या? खाली चिकन और बनाने के अलावा, हरदम चावल चिकन बनाते रहते हो. Because that was his favorite dish. So when they were roommate, he always used to cook chicken and rice. So he made a casual remark. Casually, he commented on that. He was suspended. He just reported in the school and he said it was a racist remark. And he couldn't figure out how can it be racist. Cultural context. So India is altogether our things which send casually. So exactly similarly, I was telling when I was in US as a Humphrey Fellow, there was an Afghanistan guy, me and Bhutanese. So he was a first secretary in Bhutan. So we were Humphrey Fellows, a Humphrey Fellow. So we were just walking and typically South Asian. So we were just walking with their arms across their shoulders. And suddenly somebody passed and said, what a wonderful gay group. For 1 second we couldn't understand it. We just crossed, we thought he's saying to somebody else. And then again they just commented. And for full 1 year we never touched each other. So this is the cultural context. And this is what he is developing now. Just imagine, now we'll be able to walk with arms across the shoulder. So giving a human touch to AI is the most important thing that we have to do. As I said, it is a necessary evil. We have to have it. You can't ignore it. If you want to go to US, you have to have that, right? So he's already predicting that in India also soon we are going to be asked if you are in social media or not. All said and done, I think everyone sitting here is in on social media, I think. Is there anyone who is not using social media? No. I don't think so. नहीं करते हो, कुछ भी नहीं करते हो.
Inactive users. She doesn't use.
No LinkedIn, no Facebook, no Instagram, no. नहीं LinkedIn पे हो? हाँ, तो है. वो क्या है? See, I tell you, once I was in a part of a country, and we said that we are vegetarians. He brought fish, and said this is vegetarian. Similarly, he thinks LinkedIn is not a social media. This is also culture. Fine. So what I'm saying is it's a necessary evil. You will have to have it because you learn so many things from there. But be on a learning curve. Don't stop learning. Every day you will come across something which is going to teach you. And when I say when we interact with anything with digital space, or when you're interacting with a person, when you say takeaway, when you take away something, so takeaway is not just do's, it can be don'ts as well. So the takeaways are we should do this or we shouldn't do this. When I interact with someone one of you, if I don't like something, what you are doing, so my takeaway would be that I shouldn't do this because in public place this is not liked. So this is also a takeaway. And something you like and you say that, okay, this is wonderful. I should also do this. So that is do's. So, but you have to be on learning curve. So AI is going to teach you time and again. So be on learning curve. And yeah, 516. As she said, she didn't put like this. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful session, ma'am. And thank you for having me here. Because I'm just giving you and a wonderful participation. You've got 3 days, so much to learn. Is another thing that I will tell you, another story. Just for 1-2 minutes. First time when I went to, on a UN mission to Bosnia, that was way back in 97, 98. Don't judge my age on the basis of that. I was a kiddo then, I was 5 years old. So when I went on a UN mission there, so all of a sudden, we international officers were sitting there, police officers were sitting there, and we were being trained to become trainer. Just selective few from across the the world. So and 30 or 40 of us officers were selected for that. All 5-year-olds. So suddenly, what they did is for training, they asked us to come on the. Yeah, so, this is good. So when I went on the stage for the first time, they asked me to speak on boots. Boots. And they said, everyone was called all of a sudden. It was we were just sitting watching and somebody was mentoring us and he said, okay, Viren Mishra, please come over on the stage and speak on boots for 2 minutes. And then when I went, that was my first appearance on the stage. And I had that, stage fearness because it was first time and, I had just joined the services police and the people used to call me rookie then. So when I climbed, believe me, literally I was shivering. That is one experience. So somebody told me after that, maybe it is for the first time. But if you start speaking, then that self-confidence comes. So do that. That should not scare you. And second was, I was sitting somewhere in the classroom and just watching and we were not asking questions. So one of the professors, that was in, I think again, some Western country. So he said are you scared of asking question? Do you think because if you ask a question, we'll think that it's a foolish question? They said there is no foolish question because if it is there, it wouldn't have popped up in your mind. If it is there in your mind, that means there is a question. That is a question which you haven't understood. There is a subject which is not understood by you. Ask it and clarify, otherwise you will miss everything. Your mind will keep on churning that, and you'll miss what is happening. So whenever something comes into your mind, please do ask. Don't worry about your language. Language is just a mode and means of communication. You may be very good in your local language or local dialect. So be happy and celebrate that you are good in your own local language. English is a foreign language for every one of us. If you speak good, then you know a foreign language. You are fluent in speaking a foreign language. That's it. It's a foreign language, it's not your mother tongue. So don't be ashamed. Anything pops up in 3 days in your mind, please do ask it and go clarify everything. There's a golden opportunity for you that you are here in TESS with so good speakers, with lots of just imagine when we say, there's another concept. When we say the experience in the room, just can you believe how much experience? Like my 26-year-old, she is 52, 51. So just imagine, so this is the experience we have here. Celebrate that experience. So much of experience is this in this room. You all guys add it. When you add that, that is the experience sitting in this room. Share it. Unless you share, people won't know it. Celebrate and enjoy these 3 days. Thank you so much.
You are such a wonderful.
Yeah, there's no time, but I can't hold myself thanking the panelists and especially Virendra sir. और मैंने पहले ही बोला था कि he will enthrall you, and I'm sure all of us enjoyed the interaction that we had with him. थैंक यू सो मच सर. एक ही दिन के लिए आए हैं, आपको हाथ फोल्ड करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. आई थिंक yes, there was an immense learning from this session with the question answers, with the ideas that he gave, his experiences that he shared. I think all the panel members here need a big round of applause. Thank you, Ritika ma'am, Dr. Anusha, and Dr. Shiva, and all of us will be there for 3 days, and we'll have a lot of more interactions. Thank you so much.